I think it's incredible. I think one of the most important things to solve this crisis is international convening. It's building up that momentum of countries and NGOs that come together. And the fact that Kuwait has done this now for the second time and started the conference with a $500 million commitment, I think really shows the heart of the Kuwaiti people, but also the leadership of the government to be able to do that. So it's fantastic, important.
And the conference has the UN has requested $6.5 billion
Yes.
to basically take care of the almost 9 million Syrians in urgent need of assistance
Right.
at the moment. Are you hopeful that they will reach this number by the end of today?
I hope that through the efforts of everybody in the international community that we are able to focus on the acute needs. And in particular, as you know, my portfolio is youth. And I think that Secretary Kerry mentioned in his remarks today, we can't afford to lose a whole generation of Syrian youth, not for the country, not for the region, and not for the entire world. And so we really have to focus our efforts, I think, on advocacy for education, for protection around the vulnerabilities that young people are particularly facing. And so my role here today is around supporting the No Lost Generation campaign that UNICEF and others have come up with to make sure that the needs, particular needs of young people, are at the forefront of the agenda.
Can you talk a little bit about this campaign?
Sure.
Its like the initiative of when it started and what it requires for it to progress.
Sure. So I was just in Jordan before this trip and before coming to Kuwait, and I was able to visit incoming refugees who were at the border, and the majority of them are young people, and some are children. Some are people who had to leave school and go on to communities where they're not able to go to school, they're not able to continue their schooling. 2 out of 3, I believe, Syrian young people have witnessed active conflict. And so you have, people coming out of Syria who are traumatized, who don't see hope for the future. So I think this campaign is about, bringing that hope back in, but also supporting young people with access to education, to making sure that, that they're getting counseling and therapy to address their needs. And I think we have to realize that there's a big stress on the communities that taking in all of these refugees, and so looking at community cohesion programs. So one of the programs I saw was with young Syrian women and young Jordanian women who are coming together to talk about the issues that they are facing, and it was a UNICEF program. And so things like that, where we're building community cohesion and we're looking at vulnerability, not necessarily nationality.
Now, I did want to ask you, since you just come from one of the refugee camps in the neighboring countries, what is the situation on the ground over there? Could you shed light a little bit about the catastrophic um, severity of it at the moment?
Sure. I think that there is a couple of things that were striking to me. One is that the UNHCR center that we went to had such a streamlined system where they were doing retinal scanning for refugees. And so those people could be registered by an eye scan, and that way they could go to any center from now where they are and be tracked. And then they're given a card for food and things that, again, that stuff is all centralized in a system. So I think the process is getting a lot smoother for people. I think in speaking to people, it's taking a lot of effort to come over the border, and I think people are really focused right now on what, not necessarily staying at the camp, but what they will do, from them. And so from some of the conversations I had were that people would stay at the camp for a short term, a week, a month, and then if they had other resources, they'd go into different neighborhoods. And so in Jordan, 85% of the refugees that are coming in are urban refugees. They're in the communities. And so I think looking at how we can help these communities and support them is what's going to be very important to our efforts.
Now, can we just talk a little bit about the U.S. pledge and the U.S.'s role in this conflict, particularly today?
Yes.
Could you just explain or just highlight some
Sure.
of the pledges and the assistance that the U.S. is
So Secretary Kerry today announced a $380 million pledge on behalf of President Obama and on behalf of the U.S. government, which brings our total up to, I believe, $1.8 billion. And so we're the largest humanitarian donor to this tragedy. I think he was very clear in also saying that we don't want to just, offer solutions for refugees. We actually have to get the underlying causes. And so, as you know, he is traveling to hopefully Geneva in the next week or so, and really looking aggressively to address the political issues that have caused this crisis.
Do you think that this conference and the Geneva II conference, since they're so closely timed, do you think that they will work to complement each other, considering one is tackling the political situation while the other is tackling the humanitarian?
I think they have to. I mean, I think what we all want is a speedy resolution to this conflict, that the suffering of the Syrian people ends. And I think that it's really important. I'll start with what I started with, which is that it's very important that the international community come together, that they draw attention to this issue, that they give to the acute need that exists right now for Syrian people who are suffering, but also that we're looking at a long-term solution to how to end this conflict and hopefully not be back here in another year.
Well, thanks again for your time.
Thank you, Sarah.
For giving us your time and your thoughts. Do you have any final comments or words you would like to say?
I would just like to say that, I think the compassion of the Kuwaiti people has been very obvious in my short visit here, and I hope that, we can partner with efforts to really focus on the needs of young people, on young Syrians, because we don't want to see a whole generation lost because they didn't have the opportunity because of something that happened to them. It's our responsibility and duty, I think, to help them out of this crisis.